This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, folks. The time being 4:49, I'd like to call this meeting of January 16th, 2025 to order. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few donations to do. We have $100 from Anonymous for the Senior Center. Kim did a wedding. And Raymond Carney, $35 in memory of Stephen Campbell. Make a motion to accept those donations. Thank you very much.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
All right, before we do the minutes, I need to say something. Take one, pass it down. If you all bear with me, my voice is not, and I'm very weak, and my thought process is slow, so just bear with me tonight. To the Board of Selectmen, I am writing about the recent behavior of our selectmen in our meetings. The disruptions, personal disrespect, and disregard for the chairperson's duties are unacceptable. This embarrasses both our guests and the public who elected us to represent Tilton. If you have personal issues with anyone, leave them at the door. When we sit behind this desk, we represent the town of Tilton, not our biases. We need to follow proper protocol by raising our hands and taking turns speaking. When asked to stop, please comply. Constant interruptions, especially from one selectman, must cease. I was asked to speak as well. I was elected to speak as well, and we need to conduct our work productively without disharmony and disrespect. Respectfully, your chairman. Thank you. We have to review the minutes of 12/19.
Everybody have a chance to read them?
Oh, John, would you please pass the gavel and the thing up to me, please?
Oh,
Thank you. Everybody look at the corrections that she made. All right, have a chance to read them. We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. We have January 2nd.
We do? I don't have January 2nd.
I don't have January.
Madam Chair, I don't have
Okay.
January 2nd either. I think the 26th got put in there by mistake.
Okay, so we'll pass on the
Yeah.
January 2nd.
We didn't vote on the 26th, though, right?
Oh. So is Sue saying that we did not vote on the 26th?
That's correct, Madam Chair. There was a question about something that was, who made the motion, and I think we clarified it.
Okay,
Yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for December 26th, 2024.
Second, Scanlon.
okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, do we have all the people here for the Academy Street? Great. So if we want to pull some chairs up, and we can,
Get you
Have-
some mics.
what's that? To have some chairs, we can bring them up now. Yep. So we have Academy Street Engineering Report from Brian Coburn, McFarland, Johnson. Do we have mics?
Microphones, yeah. If you want to, yeah.
She'll be in the hot seat.
You wanna stay-
You can hide behind the podium.
You're gonna go to the podium. You're gonna go to the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, let me get you. Share it so people can see it. So you can actually.
Yeah, that's just, okay. All right, ready?
Yep.
So my name is Brian Patinskis. I'm here with McFarland Johnson. So Brian Colburn's actually not the project manager on this. It's Brian Patinskis. So
Okay.
there's a typo on the sheet. And with me tonight is Sierra Dahl. She's the project engineer for this project for us. So she did a lot of the report that's in front of you.
Yeah, welcome.
So tonight I want to go through the introductions, which we just did, project background, the purpose and need of the project, the evaluation that we did that's within that report, the recommendation that we're making, and then take questions and answers, and then we can discuss the next steps to proceed with the project. So just a little bit of background on the project. It's on Academy Street, right down the street from here. The existing retaining wall is about 130 feet long. It's in front of 14 Academy Street, which is the Water District building. It's in very poor condition. The rocks are starting to fall over. The road's obviously closed now to through traffic. It's only the local residents get to their driveways at this point. Last year, we were hired to produce the engineering study that's in front of you and also go to final design if we proceed that way. So more existing conditions. So the existing retaining wall is a boulder retaining wall. There's no mortar or anything. It's just freestanding. The existing wall is about 10 feet from the water department building. As we've seen, the rocks are starting to fall over and almost hit the building. The eastern end of the wall abuts another wall at 10 Academy Street. Academy Street is mainly used for access to local residences, and it's also a major connection between School Street and Prospect Street. Another issue with the existing conditions is the guardrail that's out there. It's completely substandard. The rail's not high enough, the end sections aren't correct, and the posts are unique to say the least. Purpose and need. So the purpose is to improve safety and accessibility on Academy Street, to replace the failed retaining wall. And the need is to reopen the street itself and restore that access to vehicles trying to get between School Street, Prospect Street, and Main Street. So just a quick background of where we're at right now. So we have completed the survey that was done back in November by our sub consultant. And around the same time, we had a geotechnical subconsultant drill a couple borings and produce a geotech plan or geotech report that's in the report that's in front of you. And then we completed, so McFarland Johnson completed the feasibility study that's in front of you. And next steps for us would be utility coordination, final design, and getting this to the bid phase. So as part of our evaluation, we evaluated 2 different types of retaining walls that were possibilities. So the first type is called a sheet pile retaining wall. This consists of steel sheeting that's driven into the ground, and then a concrete facing is installed on it. We'll have example pictures coming up later. The sheet piles are driven 12 to 14 feet into the ground, which could be a problem with this wall due to the presence of bedrock that they found at about 8.5 feet. So constructing it might be an issue. It's also going to be constructed about 5 feet from the face of the building that's there for the water department. Another concern with this type of wall is they're driving into the ground. So a lot of vibrations will happen when they're constructing it. So that could be a problem for the abutters. There are utility impacts associated with this wall. So there's a gas service line going to the water utility building, so that will have to be shut down. And then the overhead wires will have to be relocated if this is the wall that's moving forward with. And then on Academy Street itself, the southbound lane, half of it would have to be rebuilt with full depth reconstruction due to the excavation needed to put the wall in. And then, the next type of wall we looked at was a precast modular retaining wall. So this is, think of like Legos being stacked on top of each other, just freestanding gravity. So big open excavation cut, place the blocks, just keep stacking them up. It's a quick process. This type of wall would need to be about 4 feet from the building, so it's even closer, but a lot less. There's no pile driving or anything like that, so no vibrations, not a concern with this type. There will be increased earthwork required just because they got to open cut the whole thing. So about half of Academy Street will be completely ripped up by this type of wall. And that will also expose the water main under the street. So we'll have to look at relocating that as part of this. So on the left side, there's a couple pictures. The left side is an example of a sheet pile wall. This is on Route 3 in Franklin. So you can see there's actually steel within that you can't actually see. The concrete facing goes on it, so you wouldn't even know it's just a bunch of steel sheeting that's holding that up. And then on the right side, it's kind of hard to see on there, but that's Route 3 in Tilton. That's an example of the Ready Rock wall. You probably see them all over the place. Basically just rectangular blocks you see stacked up. Looks pretty clean. So now onto the project cost estimates. So the steel sheet pile, we came up with an estimate of $530,000. This includes the associated roadwork and the wall. The precast modular retaining wall, we came up with $430,000 cost. So both of these costs include a 15% contingency for any unknown items at this point, since we're not at final design. And then another 10% for construction engineering. And then these numbers are based on current costs. So if costs go way up in the near future, these costs could also go up. And then this does not include any of the right-of-way costs for acquiring land at the water department building. So our recommendation, we want to go with the precast modular block wall. A few main reasons. Obviously, the cost is way less. It's $100,000 less. It's a lot less challenging to construct it. And the average lifespan should be 50 plus years on a wall like this. So the next steps that we're looking for is some buy-in from the type of wall we're doing. So if you agree with our recommendation, and then we'll want to coordinate, or someone from the town will need to coordinate with the water department, since we're getting pretty close to their building now, if it's only 4 or 5 feet away from there. And then obviously construction funding, if that's going to be an issue, and then figuring out the final design schedule for us. So basically we want to get those questions answered, not necessarily tonight, but to keep this moving forward. Then, yeah, if anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any? Eric?
A question. So I know some of the other selectmen have mentioned part of the reason why the wall is failing in the first place is
Yep.
the water runoff.
Yep.
is that something that they're going to fix on the north side?
So we'll have curbing up to top of the wall. So there's not going to be any water running over the wall anymore
Okay,
in our solution. Yep.
all right. And
So-
so in doing this, that's what we were finding is causing and has
Right.
caused the wall to fail.
Yep. So there'll be no more infiltrating of water over the wall behind the wall. It'll be fixed.
Okay. All right. That was my
Anyone
concern.
else?
That's all I had.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that was the case.
Catherine?
If you're gonna put curbing on the top, that will stop the water on the road
Correct.
from deteriorating the face. But if you're using block, it really isn't gonna deteriorate much because there's no seams to the inside. My question is, what about the water that it seems to be on the other side of the wall, coming maybe down from the hill, whatnot, because that's been seen weeping out between the boulders and at the base at different times.
Yeah.
And
So
there's
we'll,
nothing in the engineering report that indicates that, hydraulic pressure, if you will, from
right.
the
So,
north side.
so this type of wall is built with an under drain behind it. So that'll collect all the water. So it won't seep out in front of it. So it'll collect in an under drain and be sent downstream from there. So there won't be any more issues with water coming out of the
Oh, I
wall.
didn't see that in the report. Maybe, and I probably.
Yeah, we
missed
might
it.
have.
I read it on my phone.
Okay.
Is it in?
Yeah, I think it was in the detail for the wall. It might not have been in the
Is
actual
it in
text.
Coles or in
Page 4 at the bottom.
which one? Coles?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be one of, yeah.
Thank you.
I actually have, I think I left on the text.
Provided drainage to an under drain.
And then there's details in the appendix as well, showing that.
Okay. That under drain is going to drain onto the water district's property.
Yeah, that's a final design type thing. We'll have to figure out where that's going to go.
Okay.
I have to put a drain in.
That'll have to be resolved.
Yep. We'll have to put it, probably have to put a drain or something in. Go ahead, Eric.
And where that's going to go, this one is going to go actually closer to the water department. We're going to need an easement, right, to get.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have a good.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to find out.
Yeah, it gets closer to the building though. and
Yeah.
it's on their
With
property.
that one, I think you said it was
It's a little
4
bit
feet.
wider, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go
Did I
ahead.
read in here that the blocks are going to be put, so on a pour in place concrete wall, you would have a, 8-foot, 10-foot footing.
Yep.
Is there going to be any type of footing like that for the block wall?
There is. It's a gravel footing on this. So
It's gravel?
yeah, so the detail, we have details.
That's
in the
just
appendix.
something for it to set on.
Yep.
Not in a pour in place. It
Yeah,
acts more like a cantilever, so the earth holds the wall up, so to speak.
correct.
You get
Yeah,
what
so
I'm saying?
so this type you don't need that.
Okay.
It just sits on the gravel.
And I did see that the blocks are in graduating sizes as it goes up.
Yep. Yeah, it gets larger to smaller as you go up.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, Eric, go ahead.
So with this one, if we were to do the block ones, that you're going to take up, it's going to basically take the whole road. I mean, you're going
Right.
to cut in basically into
Yeah,
the north
half
side
the
of the
road
road
is
as
the
well.
open cut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then there's the gas line that's in there.
The gas won't be affected by the modular block one though. It's the water line that will be.
Okay.
If you're going to take up half of the road out to
Yep.
put in this wall, why are we leaving the old wall? Why wouldn't we pretty much build it back further or where the old wall is?
So part of it's the guardrail situation. So we're trying to create enough space between the guardrail post and the wall. There's supposed to be a few 2-foot offset, I believe it is, from the back of the guardrail post to the back of the wall. So I think you kind of see it on this detail. So instead of having the guardrail post in front of the wall, which is not at all standard, we're going to put a standard guardrail post in at the top and then 2-foot offset to the back of the wall to meet the minimum offsets that the rock wall company set forth. Because the guardrail will deflect and hit the wall, so you can't have it right on it.
Okay. Our experience has been this problematic getting closer to the water district's building.
All right. Yeah, that's why we're looking for feedback on that
To
too.
put it where the existing wall is, what would we do with the guardrails?
So you'd have to, it's called a moment slab. You put that on top of the wall, and then it just becomes a lot more expensive to do it that way.
Okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Everyone finished?
I'm
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Will, if we say yes, go forward with this, will you be giving us a more itemized estimate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So we're under scope to do final design still. So whenever we get the go ahead, we're ready to go.
We're able
So
to continue.
And you'll give us some more itemized and more time.
correct.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming.
Madam Chair, question
Yep.
for the board. Is this something that we would want to put on a warrant article? Is it already on there?
We have.
I didn't hear your
something-
question. You weren't talking in the mic.
Is this something that we're going to put on a warrant article that we would, if we were to move forward?
We haven't really talked about it, but I would assume so.
There's no other way to get the money.
Right.
It is, okay. I
But-
didn't read through
We're
those. Yet.
talking, it's tentative.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I think this is going to be up for Tim talk during the warrants here.
That's correct, Madam
Yep.
Chair.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
We're going to have to readdress the liability waiver agreement.
Yeah, I was for the water company.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I'll do that.
Without an agreement, we can't really go forward.
Tim and Scott, can you readdress the liability? Is it liability agreement?
Yeah,
Excess property damage and indemnification and liability waiver agreement.
Can we readdress that with the water company ASAP and get our waivers that we need to get?
Yeah, if I may, one of the one of the reasons for holding off on the finalization of that was in thinking that some of the reasons for that was originally developed like that because they were concerned with the town doing the work ourselves and doing the project from start to finish. So now having an engineering plan and then also having a professional construction or reconstruction might negate some or large portions of that agreement.
But we are now moving 6 feet closer to their building.
Right.
Well, I mean,
So
And drainage is going to be on their property.
I do have that agreement and I can review it with Scott and we can see about moving that forward more quickly. But I do think that there's going to be an opportunity to remove some of the portions of that out now that this is, if the board moves forward in this manner.
Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just so the board knows, Brian's folks have communicated regularly with me when they did test borings and were up there on site and that stuff. And I communicated with the water company, with John Chase, just to make sure that they were aware and to keep a line of communication open, just so the board's aware of that.
They're on board.
Yeah, we'll follow that up, Tim and I, so.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, Eric.
so the water district is aware of, okay.
Correct.
Just want to
Yep.
make sure they're not going to watch this and be like, oh.
Which, may I ask, which end is the drainage issue going to be? Down by the driveway, or is it up by the barn?
I believe it's up by the barn.
Okay,
That was my understanding, because they wanted to capture the north side
got it.
water problem.
Okay. So I think that would entail two parties for drainage issues that would probably also involve perhaps maybe the water company in Garcia.
Correct.
They should be able to, I mean, it's a hill, capture the water. It's all going to end up at the same level,
Mm-hmm.
and that could then be pitched towards Center Street.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And then
Well-
put that drainage in there.
Which is ours.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because they really do have to, I mean, there's not a lot of language about the drainage, but it is going to be captured along the whole base of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And they could do, like I said, they could do it in such a way that it's directed
Correct.
to Center Street.
Okay. Great. Any more? Okay, Eric, go ahead.
What do we think about the cost? Does that seem?
I think that we should probably discuss that when we talk about the warrant and bonding and all of that.
Okay.
Don't you? Everybody? The opportunity?
I'm fine with that. I just.
Okay, thank you. One item I took out of the to be signed, it's a application for planning. Robert, I'm sorry. Robert Jean on Grant Street. I don't know him. I don't know if anybody else knows him, but should we invite him to the board meeting and also ask him to attend the next planning board meeting?
Sure.
But,
Absolutely.
okay, everybody? Okay.
Mhm.
Great. Nice to see new faces.
I would just make sure the planning board is aware that
You-
this person is an applicant that's attending.
Okay. You all know that Janice Boudreau resigned. Okay. Oh, all right. And in the we have an application
Yep.
to be signed for Nathan Langione to come back.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yay.
All right. Next on our agenda is Tim to finalize the budget numbers.
Great, thank you. If you, before we get into the budget, if you take a look at my report, the first item is regarding our 2025 tax anticipation note. And that is, we were quoted tax exempt figure of 4.9% for the year and borrowing up to 2.5 million. This last year, we were at 5.25 and borrowed 3 million. So I would ask the board to approve this, and also up to $2,000 for the purposes of securing it, as we have to have each year we have to have an attorney review the legal documents that are provided to the bank. So if the board is in agreement, if you would consider the motion that's before you regarding the 2025 tax anticipation note.
I don't have a copy of your report.
Front page of finance.
I have finance report. I have January 2nd. I did read it on, yesterday or this morning.
I can, yeah, okay.
I move that the town initiate up to $2,500,000 line of credit tax anticipation note with Franklin Savings Bank for 2025 with a rate of interest not to exceed 4.90%, and further to authorize the engagement of legal services not to exceed $2,000 for the purpose of securing the TAN.
Second, Scanlon.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? I hear none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. So then, moving on to the budget update. So I did send out the revised budget. You have it in your books. And this budget, this shows what you approved last time in the Board of Selectmen voted column. And then last night, the Budget Committee met and they voted on the remainder of the budget items they had not voted on, and then also adopted some of the updates where we had new figures and that they were lower than the previously voted amounts for the Budget Committee. So I can take you through, but the biggest item is in the police budget. And the chief is here and I'm sure could speak to it. But essentially, given the two positions that he's extended offers to, it appears as though, due to timing, that the start dates wouldn't be until March of this year. So we, in working with Scott and also with the chief, we took out the costs of wages, benefits, and taxes, everything from January and February. So it's those two positions for the patrol and the detective are reflected in this budget, but they're reflected for 10 months of the year. So that was a reduction of $36,054. And the Budget Committee did not act on the reduced short-term interest. And I'm honestly, given the bridge work that is likely to be done in 2025 and possibly any other capital project work, if you so choose to do Academy Street, I would prefer to leave the short-term interest in at this point. And if it becomes apparent that we're not going to do those projects this year, we could take that 2,000 out at town meeting. But otherwise, the changes that are in your budget, I would think the board would want to vote the revised police budget, which is $2,533,775, which appears under the department request column and also the Budget Committee voted column. And then the other would be just to point out that in Culture and Recreation, the Budget Committee, just so that you're aware, if you recall, at your last meeting, you had voted to reduce the Hall Library by $10,000. The Budget Committee voted to level fund them from 2024. And then in the outside agencies, the Budget Committee put back they approved the full amount for the Pines of $75,000. They also approved the requested amount for Twin Rivers Food Pantry of $1,600. And I believe those were the major changes there. So you can see that you had last approved $117,479 for outside agencies, and they approved $153,579. So, and I'd be happy to take you through any of these, but my recommendation to the board would be to vote the revised police budget number. And then if there are any other changes you'd like to make, we can go through it if you have further things to discuss in either Culture and Recreation, outside agencies, or anything else.
I move that we approve the police budget for $2,533,775 $775,000.
Tim, do you have another copy of the budget? Because I don't have that either.
Uh,
Or an extra one?
yeah, I got it. Okay.
I was so left out. Thank you, Chief.
Give me a second.
No, this is good. Thank you.
I just have a question.
I've got another two more.
So a motion's been made.
Yep.
Is anyone seconding it?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Go ahead.
Tim,
Yes,
so we voted on the 2,570,000, right?
correct.
And then the budget committee voted on 2,533.
That's right. And that's because in discussions with the chief, it became apparent that that those positions couldn't be filled until
Okay, so it's only for the
March.
10 months.
It's
and
only
that's
for
what
the
makes
10
up
months.
difference.
Right. And that was
Nothing else?
no, there was no other change. So that was 36. Well, wages, taxes, retirement,
Right, yeah,
all
but-
the benefits.
Equipment,
No other change.
training. Okay.
Yep,
All right.
no other change.
Okay.
This budget shows budget committee 0 for the police.
Okay, you've got an old one then. Let me give you.
And I was going to say, I thought you said they finalized it. They did. This is Ace. Thank you.
Hey, Tim.
For the PD or
No, total.
right here, 7 million.
All right. Any more discussion on the budget?
I have a question now that I have this in front of me.
Okay.
So again, the explanation why your vote was to vote 2,570,211.
No, 2,533,000.
So we're going to pigeon the
We're gonna,
budget committee.
correct.
Okay.
And that's because of the 10-month
Yep.
Yep,
instead of 12 month for those staff.
right.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, motion has been made and seconded, and discussion has been finalized. We'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, were there any other areas of the budget that you'd like to examine? Like I said, if you want to look at the detail of what the Budget Committee did in outside agencies, you can see that on page 11 at the bottom. And you can see what the Board of Selectmen had approved and what the Budget Committee changed.
So I have a
So-
question for you, Matt.
Go ahead.
So I have a question. So where we had that discussion last meeting about our voting on these, the one with the pines,
Mm-hmm.
does the difference at town meeting,
So
how does that work as
the
far as, because
budget-
So the
that's a
Budget
huge
Committee's total is what appears in the warrant.
difference. Okay.
Correct.
So
All
unless someone got up at town meeting and made an amendment that they wanted to change something, and then they could reference a line. But otherwise, it's the Budget Committee's number. So if you look on the very front page, underneath the Budget Committee total, it's the total of the operating budget plus the sewer, which is $7,099,449. So that's what will appear in the warrant article.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Thank you.
So at this point, there's only two places. It's the budget public hearing.
Yep.
That you can make a case to the Budget Committee to change.
Yep.
Or town meeting, where as an individual, you can get up and make a motion to change a line item and make a case to the public.
Okay.
And at that point, they either do or they don't. And
All right.
that's how it works.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. I make a motion to approve our 2025 Town of Tilton operating budget of $7,099,449.
I'll second that.
A motion has been made and seconded. Discussion, Joe.
Does that mean that
That
we
in-
are pretty much following the budget committee's recommendations on the outside agencies?
Yes. Any other discussion?
What was the amount?
It's on the front page, John? very front.
Under the budget committee voted column. at the
It
very
includes
bottom.
the sewer pass-through
Yes.
of $974,386.
My question is, what numbers are we? Okay, so the Board of Selectmen came up, we went through the budget, and we came up with the number of $7,108,992. Does that include the change to the police? Tim?
No, not the change that you just made.
Okay,
The change you just made would bring in the selectmen's voted column, the operating budget would be $6,098,170, and when added to the pass-through, it'd be a total of $7,072,556.
Can you say that again?
Sure. In other words, with the change of the police budget that you voted tonight,
Yep.
in the selectmen's voted column,
Yep.
the total at the bottom there where it shows $6,134,000,
Yep.
it would now say $6,098,170. And the total, instead of being 7.108 million, would be $7,072,556.
Okay.
Good catch, John.
yeah. So we want to change it to that.
So I will amend my motion to approve the budget for $7,072,556,000. Good catch.
I'll second that.
And
Oh,
You're going to second the amendment?
yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to amend the amount to $7,072,556, which includes the deduction that we just made earlier on the police budget. Discussion. All those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that becomes the motion. So now we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor of $7,072,556,000 for our 2025 Town of Tilton operating budget?
I'll second that.
No, we don't have to second it. That becomes the motion.
Oh, okay.
We already had.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, just for clarification, so you're leaving the outside agencies as you had previously voted them, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, very good. So then, thank you for that. And then you should also have before you a draft of the 2025 warrant in DRA form. If you would take a look at that, and you'll see that Article 1 is for the operating budget, and that reflects the amount that the Budget Committee voted on. Article 2 is if the board wants to have a warrant article to raise and appropriate and bond Academy Street and the retaining wall. So I put in there 400,000. I did get a preliminary quote of 5.1% on a 10-year note, and a tax exempt note. And I think we could certainly do a little bit better than that. We could probably get it down to 5 or less than 5, but as a preliminary figure. So at that rate, we're looking at somewhere between $49,000 and $50,000 a year in payments for 10 years for Academy Street if you went that route with a warrant article and bonding it. Article 3 through,
Go back to 2.
oh, yeah.
Their estimate is 430,000. Where would we get the rest of the money to pay for that?
From the Capital Reserve Fund.
But I thought the capital reserve, but this is for road, bridges, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But don't we have a lot of roads
Mhm.
that remain undone because
Right.
of a couple of snafus?
Correct. We can change it to
Should
four.
we not,
I think we should do the whole thing.
shouldn't we request, I mean, and it's an estimate, so shouldn't this be 450,000?
We can do that.
Because we're only going to bond what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Keep our fingers crossed it's less, but
Okay.
I don't think we should be taking any more money out of this road,
No,
the road funds, just
I
me.
think that
What do you think, Joe?
Well, if we raise and appropriate $400,000, we don't have to bond very much, do we?
Well, that's the language. So it gives you the authority to bond that amount
Up to.
Up to.
up to.
Not what it says, though, is it? To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $400,000. Not bond.
Right. And to authorize the issuance of not more than the same amount of bonds and notes. That's just the standard language that they use for bonds.
DRA language.
We have to remember we raise and appropriate by taxation, by bonds, the sewer commissioner, by fees. Commissioners.
So is that the board's pleasure to do 450? And
I'm waiting on Joe's.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's a yes.
okay. All right. I will make sure we have the proper wording with DRA so they can review this tomorrow. The articles 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 you've already voted on, which were the capital reserve funds. And then Article 9 is for the recycling revolving fund for highway equipment purchases.
Can I ask Article 8?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Article 8, were we asked to put this one in this year?
Yes, by
Okay.
the Conservation Commission.
All right. Okay, good. That's my only question.
Now, it is possible to word it so that rather than raising and appropriating the tax money, you can have it to come from unassigned fund balance at the end of the year if there is available fund balance. But that could put, if there isn't any money available at the end of the year, then it could put that capital reserve in jeopardy of not receiving the funds.
Right.
But it is an option, and it is one way of saying, if you think you're going to have money left over, although I will tell you that having gone through this budget many, many times, it's a pretty tight budget.
I say let the townspeople decide at town meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and that language can be changed so that it can come out of unassigned fund balance.
And if you leave this alone for 1 year, you've doubled your duties or tripled them.
Mhm.
So, no, I'm not in favor of that. Thank you. Okay, number 9.
So number 9 is to see if the town will vote to establish a revolving fund pursuant to RSA 3195H for the purpose of paying for highway equipment with recycling revenues. All revenues from recycling generated at the transfer station will be deposited into the fund, and the money in the fund shall be allowed to accumulate from year to year and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund balance. Money in the revolving fund may be used towards the purchase of highway equipment. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon the order of the governing body, and no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend. Such funds may be expended only for the purpose for which the fund was created. So the only thing I will change there is probably insert Board of Selectmen, ensuring that the Board of Selectmen are agents for the fund instead of the wording that they have upon order of the governing body. That's the way we typically list when we're creating a fund. We specify who the agents are for the fund. So I will make that change to that one. I missed that.
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
So if we make it just for highway equipment purchases, is there a way to have it so that it also is used to fund like the dumpsters that we rent for? When we offer our recycling days and our cleanup days, or similar equipment, or
Well, you
rentals and
certainly
leases.
could.
Yeah.
You certainly could. The original idea that I was after was that if we need in our 10-year equipment plan $60,000 a year to accomplish this plan at a minimum, that if we're raising, say, $20,000 through revolving fund, then we only need to have a warrant article for the capital reserve of, say, $40,000, so that we're offsetting it. But if we're taking out operating expenses from what would normally be budgeted in the operating budget, that's a different story. And certainly the board could do that. It's just that if you want to offset that $60,000 a year that we need and try to lessen the impact to the taxpayer, that was my original idea. But you could certainly, when in the detail fund, we pay for all the personnel costs that are associated with the details, New Hampshire retirement, taxes, that sort of thing. So it's totally up to the board what you want to do. And I can reword it as such.
The idea is that, if we can make the recycling pay for itself, and then any excess revenues to go into, equipment fund. Because if, I get we're paying for our equipment purchases, but on the other end, now the full cost of the recycling is on the taxpayer. So it doesn't balance, there's no windfall by it. Either way, it
still offsets public work expenses.
would be like for
But
transparency of, so we keep that as
I
a
don't
whole
think this
recycling fund.
I don't think there's ever going to be enough money in it to be a windfall.
It'll take some time, I think.
Yeah,
It's going to take some time. Yeah.
got to get people to use it.
So what would you like to do?
What would the board like to do?
I say leave it alone.
Okay, Joe?
Alone the article?
Yeah.
Joe, what would you like to do?
No, I wouldn't change it.
Okay, Eric?
Yeah, I wouldn't change it either.
Okay, I think I'm with the same, leave it alone.
Okay, and then
Good point though, John.
And then the last article there is regarding the elderly exemptions and what the board had previously voted upon.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. So I will make the changes to Article 2, and I will make the change to Article 9 for the agents.
I have a question. It's just, at the bottom of the Article 10, it says, these are the last 2 or 3 sentences. The taxpayer must have a net income of not more than 28,000. Or if married, a combined net income of less than 40,000. Why would we not say not more than, just like we did before.
This is just the wording that we had the last time
I know,
that I picked up.
I'm just saying it.
It makes sense to
Throws
make
it a
it
bit.
consistent, yeah. So net income of not more than
In the next sentence, the next part says, and no
40,000.
net assets not in excess of. So it should, I think it should just be consistent throughout.
Yeah. So just that one change on the next to last sentence
That's just me.
where it says a combined net income not more than $40,000 and own net assets not in excess of $70,000 or not more than $70,000.
I would agree, board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that language.
Okay. I just picked up what we used the last time and used that. So, okay. Very good. Thank you. And the only other things that I had were somewhat related to what Scott's going to talk about. And in terms of the bridge contract, my recommendation is that the board should ask for a performance bond when we do go to contract with them, if we go to contract with them, and that we should be prepared to pay for that performance bond, which is a very standard way of doing things. If you look at any of these big contracts that we get, Avatar, Casella, they give us a price with and without the performance bonds. And I think in this case, even though we have insurance and other things, I think given the enormity of the project, I think it makes sense to have that. And I would think that, just sort of off the, the back of the envelope, figuring it might cost us around $5,000, maybe $10,000 at most. But I think it's important money to have set aside for insurance that we should be willing to pay for. So there's that. And then I already explained the Academy Street, my number 4 on my report. So other than that, unless you have any other questions for me, that's all I have.
Anyone? Tim, thank you very much for all your work on the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up is Selectmen reports, and Eric, you're first.
Nothing to report.
Okay. John, you're next.
Nothing, but I really enjoyed seeing the picture of the ice rink. And that's all I can say. I don't know
yes.
if the chief's had anybody out there. You've been out there on skates?
Yep, at least a couple of days.
That's exciting.
That's
And
great.
the cold weather.
After all these
And
years,
thanks to Shane, too.
we finally have signs. This is very simple.
Great.
I might have stolen some of your
Thank
thunder,
you.
but I
No.
was pretty
I
excited.
forgot about it. Thank you. I just
Nice to
wanted
see it
share.
used.
That's it.
That's it?
Mhm.
Joe?
Only that we had a budget committee meeting, but anybody up to this point who's watching this tape already knows what happened there.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll be having a public hearing next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Up here at 6 p.m. Come on down. We're going to be discussing the budget, and it'll be people's opportunity to bring their concerns before the budget committee. That's it.
That's the 22nd, right?
Yep.
It's the
Yeah.
22nd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Thank you, Joe. Catherine?
Just a question. How are we doing on the crosswalk light signs, solar?
Actually, we have really done nothing with them, and we can't do anything with them until we get them to meet DOT compliancy, Catherine. There would be 2 of them that we could use, one at the school, Winnisquam High School, and one at 380 West Main. But we've got to make them 2 compliant, and then we'll have to get a contract or a plan together for DOT from Shane. So he's kind of waiting on me to decide what we're going to do with those two signs are the only ones we can use once we make them DOT compliant, because the rest of the signs, unless we put them on a town road, are going to have to be made DOT compliant and are going to come downtown. But each one of those signs takes up 2 additional parking spaces downtown. So I was under the inclination that the board wasn't up for losing any more downtown parking.
Well, do I remember a conversation about talking to the manufacturer on why they weren't made to the specifications required by our DOT? Did that take place?
No, that did not take place. I do recall a conversation. Nothing had been reported back to me. I believe the signs were just picked and ordered. There was no spec, nothing that I can find that gave them a spec for each state. Each state has their own specifications. Most of them are the same, but nothing. They were just, as far as maybe Tim knows better, but as far as I can tell, they were just ordered by the previous town administrator. So,
Well, the MUTCD, Manual Uniform Traffic Control Devices, wouldn't that be, I mean, that's national. That's not New Hampshire.
correct.
It's national. Why wouldn't they follow that? And
Probably because I think that because of the fact that it depends on, there are different classifications, I think, for state roads, for town roads. So one crosswalk sign may not be
but that's
the
why
same
the
as
MUTCD.
right. But I think, and I don't know, but I'm guessing that when these were ordered very quickly because of probably some emotion. And I don't think there was a lot of research probably done in it, because now, I mean, just looking at the signs that needed to be placed in those positions, we should have contacted DOT and had them order the signs and or give us the specifications of what signage needs to be there. Because I think we did agree that we don't want to lose the parking downtown, right?
Right, but this place is all over town. They could be placed. The problem with the town of Tilton is where most of our crosswalks are, they're state roads.
Yep.
Correct.
Gave them what we call some of the secondary roads, 132, 127, School Street, Lockmere, all of those are state roads.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is we've spent the money, we have the signs. How much difference is there between these signs and what New Hampshire DOT requires? And perhaps this is a talking point for our meeting. I mean, maybe they can give us a pass. I mean, they're lighted crosswalk signs. I don't know how they could, what more they could want. I mean, I'm sure there is. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they're safe to use, and where did they come from? North Carolina?
North Carolina, yeah.
North Carolina. Why wouldn't they provide our pedestrians some safety here? You see where I'm at?
Right.
So
I get it.
if we can
No, go ahead.
kind of gather some information that would help us to ask DOT, can't you work with us with these? Because it was a chunk of money spent. And I'd hate to see them in some subdivision somewhere. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because that's what we're looking at.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
are there roads? I think you and I had a conversation that to get them up to code
Right.
for being able to put them downtown.
Right.
What was the cost? It was
$150 per sign.
$150.
Roughly. That's what the state sent us
That's to
some
get them up to
information.
code.
Yeah.
And the state did suggest that Tim and I and Shane met with them to look at the signs at the highway garage, and the state did say if you had contacted us before, we
Right.
would have told you what our specs are,
Mhm.
and that these were not compliant.
Right.
So,
And I can tell you, having been on the periphery of that at the time, Eric is absolutely correct in
1
his
second, Joe.
assessment of how things transpired. And if anything, the signs that we have are too flashy with lights on them that aren't the lights where they appear aren't allowed, and just needs a different sign in its place. So there's not a lot of cost to modifying them, and they did say the town could use the lit signs in other areas, but his narrative of that is spot on.
Joe, go ahead.
How much do we have invested in each sign?
I believe the total was $32,000, and it was 8 signs. So
$4,000 a sign. And for $150, we'll bring them up to code, and then we can use them.
correct.
Whereas right now, we
Can't
can't
use
use them.
Correct.
So I would be willing to vote for the $150.
But even my understanding though, even if we do the $150, we still can't use the lighted ones, correct?
No, we can use the lighted ones. They will be lighted. They'll be lighted differently, as Tim said.
Okay.
And what the problem was that later came to me through an email was, and Tim alluded to it, is where the flashing occurs on the sign has to be for NHTSA, the National
Institute on Traffic.
Institute for Traffic Safety Association, which gives federal money to the state. The flashing can't obscure drivers.
Yep.
And that was the concern with these signs, moving the sign up and the flashing up on the current sign for $150. We'll fix that and make them NHTSA compliant.
Sounds good. All in favor? Go ahead, John. I didn't.
So, no, I think it's great, Joe, $150, but we need to have something specifically in writing, signed by DOT, that if we spend $150 on each one of these signs, let's not throw more money until they put it in writing and we have the specs and where we're going to locate them.
Yep.
Because obviously we can't use them downtown.
Right.
That's completely out.
Not if we fix them, right?
Well,
No, because of parking spaces. If you remember the Tilton T-Hop parking lot was not approved by DOT unless we took out some spots on it, as well as the one at the telephone pole here. They had to have more spots around it in order to a certain distance.
We have a lot of parking spaces they'd like us to eliminate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, before we spend another penny, let's get something concrete. But I agree, we should
I mean, that
make them usable.
that makes
Go
me
ahead.
that makes me nervous, because we did talk about that. Each sign we're gonna lose 2 spaces.
But there are other places they could be used.
Yes, but there are other places, but we don't have to do the upgrade. Correct
If
me if
it's
I'm
a
wrong.
town road.
If it's a town road.
Well, I'm not
Correct.
talking town road, for example. We fixed the bridge, we have the island back. we
Cumberland
have
Farms,
the
there should
crossing.
be one there.
Yeah,
There
I
should
agree.
be-
Yes. Oh, there
Down
definitely
there.
should be one there. Yeah.
Yep.
We could do
Yeah.
up at the high school where the
The
kids
park.
cross.
Most
Yeah.
definitely there
There's
too.
no parking spaces, but we have places like that
Correct.
where we could use them. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to use them downtown.
Yeah.
Tim and I identified
Do-
4 spots. Do you remember, Tim? It was Cumberland Farms or the bridge, Riverfront Park.
Yes.
Yes, West Main Street and the high school. Those
Yeah,
4 spots.
over by Deer Street, that
Right.
crossing there.
Yeah, those will not affect parking.
Riverfront Park doesn't have a crosswalk.
But we could do that. I believe, Tim.
Yeah, so it requires additional signs going westbound on Route 3 because you don't have the line of sight to where it would be located. But other than that, that was a potential location for it.
So, whole nother subject. I think we'll go to
Yeah.
I know.
gathering
Going
data.
down this.
Yeah. All right. So are we in favor of the, oh, Chief, go ahead.
Probably going to touch on a sore subject, but if I recall when I was here and I spoke about these signs, I stood right here and we were supposed to go on a field trip and check out the downtown. The main issue I had right from the get-go about getting these signs is the downtown lighting.
Mhm.
Okay, the lighting downtown is atrocious, and we've said that many times, and we keep talking about the lighting. I think now that we've come up with a plan where those are going to go, I think that's a great plan. Those are all great spots to have those. But now you've kind of gone away from the scope of what the problem that we started to get these signs for was the main street. Okay. I mean, obviously money's tight. So I think, and I was thinking in my mind, could we sell the signs? Well, I don't think you're going to get much for them. And I don't think they're going to take a refund on those signs. So I just want to say maybe in the future, the next thing that we probably should look into that's going to help me and, patrol and the downtown and is lighting the downtown area, or at least doing some uplighting or something that's going to give you that more visibility. So when you're using those crosswalks, you can see. So that's my take.
I totally agree with you, Chief.
Good question.
Go ahead, Eric.
Has this been, because I don't think I was here. I might have been here for that conversation, but I don't think you were. No. So you bring up a good point, because now I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, like there's no lighting downtown. It's terrible. It's terrible. Has this been a discussion that the board has taken on before in reference to like
Many times.
And have we gotten any?
There is electrical power in various spots up and down Main Street in furtherance of having lights. We installed some lights down along the river.
Yep.
Down at the other end of the railroad tracks.
Yep.
And in theory, well, no, in actuality, eventually those lights will move up the street. I mean, we've started planning for it already. Those are pretty spendy, as I recall, and
yeah, I'm
we're
sure.
getting them a few at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, you finished?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you. My recall when Judy Tilton was in here, she said that there was a surplus of ARPA funds that we could apply for.
I believe most everything is going to dry up the end of this year, or has.
It already had to be committed, but there weren't any excess funds over and above what we had that I was aware of.
She said that through the state, for the federal, I mean, that there were excess, but you had to apply for them and show a reason. Could we possibly just look into it and maybe, because that would be a significant reason, it would be safety.
Absolutely.
Because it's lighting. And maybe we could put some downtown lighting down there. If we had, I mean, it's just, I know it's a long shot, but.
I mean, are there any grants that we could look into? Anything like that? I don't know. I mean, I could do some research on
Department
it.
of Safety,
Yeah. I mean, I could do some research on it. I don't mind doing
Homeland
that.
Security.
There was a grant that just came in, but I don't think it had lighting in it.
No.
It didn't, did it?
For the transportation.
The transportation one.
Right. No.
Okay, so we're going to put that $150 thing on hold, or what are we doing?
Table it until.
Table it till we get more data.
Well, I like John's idea of getting an agreement from New Hampshire DOT. If we have
Mhm.
this, pay for this upgrade on these signs, I'd like something, I agree with
Will
John.
that be
Yes,
enough to?
we can
Yeah,
use them.
yeah.
And where we're going to put them.
And where we're going to put them. Yeah.
They agree.
Right.
Not gonna
Okay.
say no.
Right.
They did discuss, and Tim and I later had conversations about the bridge, and but they did agree, and Shane had talked to them about Deer Street and 380 West Main, and they actually gave Shane the spec to the base, how to design the base to hold them. So we have that information.
Great. Okay. Anything else,
Oh,
Catherine?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I only have one thing, and the senior center has taken on a community project, and they are doing a chowder fest at the Tilton Senior Center on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, from 1 to 4, to aid the California wildfire first responders in providing emergency fire shelters, hydration packs, wildland brush tools, and 24/7 meals for exhausted crew workers around the clock to contain and to put out these fires. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children and 12 under. Hopefully we'll see everyone there. It's a great project to take on.
What time is it?
1 to 4. And this is going to go directly to people that are first responders. It's this, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, the SINESE program, SINISE. He's an actor.
Sinise.
Sinise.
Gary Sinise.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his foundation that
Gary
goes
Sinise.
directly right to first responders. That's it for me. Town administrator report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I just wanted the board to know that I did ask Shane and his crew to fill in the divots in the downtown sidewalk. What happened was we filled in where we dug for light poles and plants, and we filled them in so people would not trip. And then we had a snowstorm, and our sidewalk machine is a little heavier than we expected. So just so if the board gets any concerns, last week they did fill in all the divots that they made with the sidewalk machine. So it's much safer. So the clean diesel program, I think I spoke to you about briefly. The clean diesel program is somewhat different at the state level than it was at the federal level. The clean diesel program that exists and will expire, the grant time will expire on January 24th, only pays back 25% of the cost of equipment. It is not like the VW program that was done nationwide. The VW program gave 100% funding for replacement of more than 20-year-old diesel public works trucks. Belmont wrote 2 grants. They got one approved. I think it was $300,000 is what I was told was the amount they got, with the agreement that you disable the old iron and make sure that it can't operate. So I've discussed this with Shane. And I've reached out to somebody at the state who called me back. And in the future, they anticipate that the VW grant may come back. And it would be much more advantageous for our taxpayers to get replace I think it's a 2009, Tim? 2000. Oh, 1999. My goodness. Yeah. So it would be much better for us to do that on the VW grant than it would be to do it in this grant.
Mhm.
So that's my thoughts. I'm waiting. I've made a contact with somebody at the state level in DOT that said when and if the VW program comes back, he'll contact me and we'll make a submission in that form. So
I know some other grants, every once in a while I get these from the Conservation Commission, so whenever I do, I try and disseminate them out
Yep.
to everybody else.
You sent me
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
Yep.
The last one I sent, it said something about that they would pay for replacing engines to more energy efficient ones.
Mhm. That was the one you sent out
Yeah.
tonight.
Tonight,
the meeting.
right.
I just got
That's
that.
I haven't had a
Yeah.
chance to look at it.
Yeah, I read through that,
But
too.
I didn't read into it what
Criteria.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
In fact, the gentleman that I spoke to from the state said everybody, all the communities were jumping on the VW
Yeah.
grant. But if they didn't get enough people to jump on this grant, the clean diesel grant, then that might give the federal government some more leverage in bringing the VW grant back. So, which made sense. So,
so it must be for when VW was doing the cheating.
correct. Yes. Correct.
Okay.
And a couple of things that, Madam Chair, I'd like to know if we need to vote on. You folks voted the 2025 warrant, but McFarland Johnson, Brian from McFarland Johnson, when he left, asked me if where to go from here, and I said, well, as soon as I get the direction from the board, then I will contact you so we can begin moving forward. Is that something the board would like to do? Ask me to do is contact Brian so we can move forward on this.
You're talking Kayla Phil.
What's that?
Are you talking?
No, I'm sorry, Academy Street.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, John.
I think, like Catherine brought up, we still got to settle with the water department.
John, you need to talk into the mic. I can't
Thanks.
hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to do this water
Okay.
department piece. And that's been the most difficult part of this whole thing.
Okay.
But after that, I myself am good with going ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to,
So might I suggest that I get a consensus of the board if I went forward like this and said to McFarland Johnson, the board's intent is to move forward, but we want consensus and agreement from the water district on this project and before we commit.
We need the easement from the
Easement,
water company.
I'd
Is
also
that
like to see their itemized estimate.
Okay.
I mean, just to say, I think around 430,000. I mean, how much is that construction, or how much is that for consulting? And
Well, I don't think that they can give that to us until didn't he said until they went into the design phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we could get the itemized.
Itemized, right.
Yeah, if we,
like I said, then should leave a trap door for us to say, no, sorry, we changed our minds.
Okay.
I mean, you don't pay for a
Well,
car until at least you know what you're getting.
Yeah. Eric.
yeah, I would agree. I think he did say when he was just standing there that you'll get that when we go into the design phase. But I do think we need to get everything on board with the water district first,
right,
and then get all that set up. And then I'm in favor, like John, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, I think if we tell them, yes, we want to go forward with it, and then they give us that itemized list with the design phase, right? I wonder if that's a separate cost, which,
Never has been.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because
What do you mean by separate?
how do we get
costs?
that? So how do we get the itemized detailed list that you want? without giving them, Scott, the authority to go ahead and move forward with it.
Because we've always gotten that before we said, yes, it was part of the package.
Okay. That's what I was
Maybe
wondering.
the next step may not be part of this, but if we say to them, we're like to move forward, but we'd
Okay.
really like to know what we're paying for.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, because
Without the say so of the water department, we got nothing.
We've got nothing.
And I've been at
Correct.
several meetings with the water department where we didn't make out well at all. And I had, I'm hesitant to think that all of a sudden the water department's gonna go, okay, because I just don't see it.
I think it's going to be a little bit different because it's an engineering company
so.
that's
I
going to
hope
be
so.
doing this. Me
I
too.
think-
But you're on board if they're on board, if we
Yeah,
get this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, you had your
no,
hand
yeah,
raised.
no,
You're all set.
theory's great.
Okay.
Water board, water.
So-
Water board, no, we don't want that.
So it sounds
They're
like
on, we're on.
it sounds like we're all on board. Can we ask them ahead of time for a itemized?
I can
See
ask.
if we can get
Yep.
that.
Yeah, I can ask, Madam Chair.
Tell them it's a stumbling block.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound good,
Yeah.
everybody? All right.
Next is A.M. Grattan is anxious to see what the town would like to do. A.M. Grattan are the people that are proposing the bridge removal, repair, replace. I would like to, as you heard Tim mention in his budget report, that we would ask for a performance bond. But I would like to enter into, or would the board like to enter into a contract with them? I'd like to get them committed. They sent me an email. They were a little bit, they weren't anxious, but they are planning their construction schedule for the summer. I feel that the sooner we can get them committed, and in fact, did mention to them that I would approach the board as a sole source issue with them. And we would obviously enter into a contract with the understanding of a performance bond, with the understanding that we're waiting for grant money as we speak. My understanding from Tim is in 2023 the taxpayers did approve the board moving forward for repair or repair of the bridge, and the amount was drastically larger than what I think we're going to be doing this for. So, is it the board's wishes to ask me to have them send a contract to us to move forward?
John?
I know at town meeting, we said regardless of anything that happens, we will bring it back to them for the decision. That was part of the bond that, trust us on this one.
We're not going to bond it.
No.
So I want to make sure we get all that. So
Wait,
that fits
wait.
into that.
So, go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, we would probably likely have to utilize the bonding authority that you have to
Okay.
borrow short term to finance it until we have the monies, because generally speaking, you don't get the money up front. You have to expend first and
Got
then.
it.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
That would have to be explained at town meeting.
Town meeting.
So,
But we still could commit to this person doing the work because this is the person that we want to do the work.
That's,
But we
Yeah.
don't have a total cost.
No, we won't have a total cost until we agree to enter into some type of contract. So,
Well, we have,
We need to enter into a contract to
right.
go to town meeting with, so
what do, how are we going to contract with somebody if we don't have all the costs? In this December 11th letter, they talk about when the bridge structure is removed from the abutments for offset repairs, the steel bearing plate assembly will be replaced in kind. At that point, the abutment capstones can undergo preventative maintenance with repointing or possibly pouring a concrete cap to distribute the weight more evenly for the next century of bridge use,
Mhm.
which sounds great, but we don't have a cost for that.
And Catherine, just so you know, they AM Groton does not believe it's necessary.
This is from Grattan.
Right. AM Groton does not believe that.
Yes, it is. That's where I just read it from.
Right. But they do not believe that was what was in the report.
No, that is, no,
Let
I'm
me make
sorry.
sure.
This is a letter from Tim Danzero, Vice President, Arnold M. Grattan Associates Incorporated. That was his opinion. He said at the top that he personally inspected both abutments and center piers, and my findings are that the 3 hand-cut stone substructures, blah, 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 he says those are fine. He does disagree.
Right.
This is in the bottom where he does say what I just read, that
Right.
that work should be done.
Right. And his reasoning for that, Catherine, was that if the board or the town felt it was really necessary to do, that would be over and above what his quote was, and he would do that. However, his words to me were that he does not believe it's necessary.
That's
So
not
that
what he
was
says here.
yeah, that was his way of saying, if you want me to, I will, but I don't think you need to.
But that's not what he says here.
Yeah, maybe I haven't read it in a bit, but maybe I haven't read it in a bit. So it's been a
So, I
while.
mean, that's my concern.
Yep.
So have we truly, this has been such a cluster.
I know.
I would like to go forward with it.
Yep.
I think it's awesome we have this price. It's incredible compared to what we were getting.
Yes.
Realistic.
And, but I'd just like to have make sure all our
Okay.
ducks are in the row. I mean,
Yep.
they're also asking us to close Route 3.
Hmm.
What is that expense involved?
Well,
And is DOT going to allow us? I don't
uh,
want to commit unless we have something from DOT says, yes, you're going to be able to close Route 3 in that corridor
How does that work?
for about 4 or 5 hours.
our,
Well,
our
exactly.
police chief.
Are they sending them over School Street? They're going to send them through Northfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about what happens if we have to close that section of Route 3.
I have had this discussion. I had it on the phone with the DOT folks, the Deputy Commissioner Dave, and when I told him some of the things that we wanted, this board and the DOT we wanted to talk about and hash out, that was one of them. And when I said to him, we would probably ask our police chief to assist us on this, and that we would only need to close the road for 2 days, one year and one the next. And I remember his words were, Mr. Hilliard, you will not be closing Route 3 during the day. If it's closed, it's going to be closed at night. So that's part of my discussion with Groton, right? So
Can they do that work at night?
yeah, and the crane folks, obviously it would require additional lighting for the crane, so it's going to be a little additional
More money.
cost. But if that's what we got to do to get it done,
Mhm.
I'm willing to stay up all night.
But I think that
There you
I
go.
think that if we get a detailed contract,
Yeah.
it spells out everything ready for town meeting. I think that we all agree that this is the guy that we want to go with.
I thought we determined this doesn't have to go to town meeting.
Yeah, because we had promised last year that we'd.
Well, we'd update them. They want to know where's their bridge.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's how Tim told me.
But I have a
It was
question for
left.
Tim.
okay. Go ahead, Catherine.
In the minutes of 12/26/24, you state that we have 675,000 plus available. What
That-
makes up that 675?
575 was supposed to be the number. So
No,
what,
it says 675.
675.
In the minutes, it says 675. That could be a mistake.
oh, no, I'm sorry, hang on, I know. So the 500,000 is from the grant.
Correct.
100,000 is from the capital reserve fund for the island. 75,000 is from the bridge grant that we received that was restricted for the purpose of the bridge from the state. That was received in late 23, I believe. And then there have been some donations, probably about another $1,500 of donations that we've received. So yes, that's the 675. But that does require using the entirety of the capital reserve fund to reach that level.
What was the, how much was the bond grant for? I mean,
$1 million.
so town meeting voted to allow us to bond up to $1 million.
Correct.
Right. If you'd like, I can read you the warrant as it was presented and it did pass. If you'd like
So
to
we
hear it.
definitely have the money to cover this.
Right.
Correct.
I don't think closing Route 3 at night will double the cost.
No. I don't
It did talk about being offset by the grant, but it was for $1 million for the repair and reconstruction of Tilton Island Bridge.
Well, I would agree with this if we have all these little holes plugged.
Mm-hmm. All right. Everyone else? Moving forward? Okay.
Okay.
Let's get it.
I'll
Let's
get
get it going.
I'll get an email off to them and get a discussion started. In fact, maybe I'll invite them to come to a board meeting. But I just want them to know that we're anxious. We're ready to get
Yep.
this done. We'll be your first
Right.
customer if we can. And
Absolutely.
basically that's how I left it in the email. And I did say something about town meeting. And then Tim clarified that when Tim and I talked, Tim clarified it and said, Scott, we don't need to. We need to report back to town meeting. But
Okay.
so
Got it.
that's good words. I'll get to them. So
Great.
two last things: dedication and memoriam for the 2024 annual report.
Well, in memoriam, I think we all know who it should be.
Yep.
Can you write it down, John, and give it to Catherine, please?
I'm just saying I don't agree that it should be just that one person.
That's the one.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't.
Let me add to it. Wrong year.
That's what I think.
Oh,
Wrong year.
That would be 25.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that would be 25.
Correct.
Okay,
Right. We're gonna
write
be
who
doing
you think,
24.
Catherine.
Well, just in case people don't know who she was. One of the things she did.
Okay.
Sorry.
For
I don't have
24.
my glasses on.
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on either.
I probably should have had my glasses on when I wrote it.
Yeah, I know who she is.
Yep. I would definitely be in agreement with that.
And then we had another name.
Yep, we did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
didn't even think of it.
And
Yeah.
we've had another.
Didn't even think of it.
We've had someone else we lost as well. Let me write them up. I don't remember the
gave
other
you a little
one,
pad.
but
It's been a tough
and my
year.
brain just died. Brain just died. But again, why does it have to be just one? I
It
like
doesn't.
your idea of the collage. I mean,
Correct.
these are the people that we have lost that have
Right.
done service to the town. That's what I think we should do.
If we can think of the ones,
Well, I can
And if you miss one, that's
You'll know who this
gotta be
is.
the worst
Right.
thing you can do.
That's-
exactly,
is that?
that's
That's
the
my
problem.
concern.
If you miss one, it's like, well, wait a minute.
Well, those records are right downstairs.
Which is
It-
true.
There's certain people
Oh, I
that
just
have
remembered the
done
same.
extraordinary things throughout their life for the community, and
That's
The guy that
so-
owns this?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
might I ask? I spoke to a town manager who was a friend of mine, and he, we got in a conversation about many other things, but one of them was dedication, and exactly what John just said is that they've always made their dedication based on one person because they were concerned that they would miss somebody,
Mhm.
and or other citizens who might have lived in the community might be offended because they're not mentioned in there, and that each one of our town reports by statute has to list a list of all people who deceased
Right.
in that year. So
Right.
But we list that in
We
the
do have
annual
that.
report.
We do have
We
that.
could put some of the people
Right.
we have who have served Tilton.
Right.
Or however, the sum of. And then you could put an asterisk, the full list is in the back.
Or we just pick one. It's never been this difficult in my experience.
No, I'm sorry.
No, we have so many people
How do
that
you pick just
contribute
one?
Yes, we
Right.
do.
extremely through this
Yes,
town.
we do. And
It's hard to pick
characteristically,
one.
we've chosen one.
Oh, I
It
just
is.
remembered who I.
And I'm sure there's been many in the past that
Oh,
See?
I'm sure there is.
Catherine, you keep remembering them more. You just said,
Oh, no, I
remember
remembered
another
who we
one.
talked about
Okay.
at the last meeting. I don't know how I could forget.
I hear what Catherine's saying, but I still think we should just pick one. That's just my. We can also recognize others in. We'd also like to give special thanks to.
Much longer.
But we usually dedicate the annual to somebody who is living. And then we have a page in memoriam. So
I think that I'll go with whatever the board decides to go with. It doesn't. We have so many people that in our community that have given to us, and it's hard to choose. I mean, it really is. So.
I mean, maybe in that
I
same.
definitely, absolutely in memoriam, the last one here. This one?
That's one I wrote.
No.
No,
It's
the one,
I wrote.
Catherine, underneath the first one that we said wasn't in the year, the
Yep.
proper year.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely make
Yep.
a motion that we put her in as an in memoriam.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 I.
All right. So now we need a dedication.
Who haven't we?
Oh, I'll give it to,
I was gonna say we'll circle it.
give it to, so who, while you're thinking of that, also think of who's going to write up, or perhaps maybe we can ask certain people to write up something for this person. Okay,
Those that were very involved in that process she was
Yes.
involved in.
right.
They're good waiting for me to.
I think in that same vein, we need to figure out somebody that stands out in community, that gives back to the community, that,
No, that's not a person.
Quite a few. I've done some.
Is this for the
dedication.
dedication?
Dedication.
Maybe.
There's just,
Maybe.
we just.
No, you bring it up every year. We did something very special last year.
We didn't.
Yes,
We did. We did. We asked them to write a whole thing. They got a whole separate page and everything in the.
Yeah, well, everybody gets paid in there.
No, they got a very special page. We asked
Okay,
them for
that's
it.
good.
Um,
Trying to think who else.
we just got to think of somebody else. I agree that they should be recognized for all the work that they've done. They're outstanding. I'm a member, but
Well, and we
yes,
should continue to have them put a page in the annual report of what they've accomplished.
I absolutely agree with that.
Definitely.
I absolutely agree with that.
So we should invite them. They probably don't expect it.
They'll
I
need
can't
some.
think of anybody right now.
I can think of a
Everybody
couple.
I
but
think of,
it's
we've
all-
already done it.
It's
I thought I just thought of one person.
I thought of one person that's had as many years as the one that we're doing in memoriam, but that's still doing the job. It sat next to who we're talking about for years and years and years.
You want to write that
Um,
name down?
Oh.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
Light came on. Dim, but it came on.
I think this is who it is. I'm sorry, I'm really
Yeah, I got it.
getting really
It's my
tired.
glasses. I need my glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both of them.
For dedication and then in memoriam.
Yeah.
Seldom do we recognize.
you want
Seldom do we recognize the people that are there that work. I mean, and do that job.
give too much away.
Yeah.
Well, that person does other things
Yeah.
as well that
Uh-huh.
people probably aren't aware of outside of that
Mhm.
venue.
Does the board agree, or
Yeah.
does everyone agree with that name? Okay,
Good.
So
Was
we're
he-
we're
good.
good.
That was easy.
Easy.
Thank you.
Thanks for remembering.
Well, I don't know how my brain is remembering that one, but
Are these?
okay. Town property update. I spoke with Chuck today.
Oh, you did? Good. And
I did.
then you beat me to it because I couldn't catch him. So
Okay, so Chuck has been working on this project for town administrator. He hasn't had the time to go in between the building permits, but as I explained, we really want this done before, so that for our town meeting.
Correct.
And so he's going to set aside some time specifically for next week to get these properties seen. He has seen a couple of them, a few of them, and he's got a few more.
okay.
So that's where he stands with that. Yep.
Tim, we have authority to sell town property, do we not?
Mm-hmm.
You do.
We do. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
The last thing I had, Madam Chair, was the DOT Board of Selectmen meeting. I did meet online. I printed in my report quite a bit of the details in there, but I would like the board to either think about February, maybe the last meeting in February, bringing them in and having this meeting. Their concern, they being DOT, their concern is that they wanted to, they were concerned that people proposing to do future construction in Tilton would be coming in and asking a bunch of questions of DOT and their requirements. And I understood why they were a little bit reluctant, but I did. I had a great phone conversation with all of them, and I really would like to see this meeting take place. I think it'll answer a bunch of your questions. It'll answer a bunch of questions for our citizens. But I believe that we're best, at least I got an agreement from them, we're best handled that we have the conversation between the board and them. We ask questions. I've committed to the DOT that any future projects that we come up on our horizon, we will bring them in to the early stages of the meeting. The commissioner that I spoke to, he wasn't detrimental, if you will, but he really feels that he would like his folks brought in at an earlier stage. I explained that, we have a new land use coordinator who, in fact, does that with everybody, and that any future projects would be discussed with them. So I think this will be a very informative meeting of both of us with DOT and the board. And there have been some changes in the 10-year plan that we will be updated directly from them. I know Juliet, our representative, did get a copy to the board, but there may have been some changes since that copy. So could I ask for a consensus of a meeting date?
I just have a
Eric, go ahead.
question. So part of their concern is they, if we have this meeting, they are going to get questions from future developers, basically. to some
Yeah,
extent.
during the meeting, like the commitment, Eric, to, if I want to put houses on Route 3 or
Yep.
build houses on property on Route 3, am I going to have to do this? And they can't answer that question.
Right.
As the commissioner said to me, he goes, we don't dictate to them that they've got to make road improvements. You do.
Yep.
In your town. And that, he made clear. He said, we set the guidelines for what would need to be done, but at your direction.
That's not necessarily true.
No.
Yeah.
If it's a state road, the planning and zoning planning, send them directly to DOT.
Well,
That's a condition, that DOT
Right.
approval. Such as-
Exactly.
We can't tell them
Right.
that you have to put a light in, you have to make turning lanes
right.
on a state
No,
road. We
no.
don't
Right.
have that authority.
No.
Yeah.
And
We
that's
can
not
tell
what
them to
he's,
put a crosswalk sign in.
What-
And
either.
unfortunately,
You can't.
that's-
They can't even tell them that they have to widen the driveway and make an apron.
right. And they made that, the commissioner made that very
Wait,
clear to
what?
me.
1 second. All right, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to finish. My thought is to alleviate that, and if we're going to have this conversation between the board and DOT with the public present, why can't the board ask the public to email them questions?
Mhm.
that's not spontaneous.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a set
then
stage.
it's not a set stage because
Yeah.
if we want to mitigate things getting out of hand, which there's a possibility of that having where we lose control.
I don't think so. You met our chair?
Well, I understand that, but I'm thinking that to save time, to alleviate their concerns, but yet get questions asked from the public. I mean, I thought part of my job as a selectman was to be a voice for the people. That's just
Right.
that's just my thought.
Might I try to clarify something, Madam Chair?
Hold on one second, because John has a question.
So if we look back at why we were going to have this, was to make sure that we're communicating, the Board of Selectmen is communicating very well with DOT,
And
and that
vice versa.
they are telling us what projects they have going on, and we do them. It's not an open forum.
Correct.
However, at any time, there's the opportunity for any citizen to make
Correct.
comments
Mhm.
or anything and discussion
Yep.
on it, but it doesn't have to be an open question and answer thing.
Correct.
They can ask the questions and the chair can say, okay, well,
Right.
the DOT will get back to you or something like that, but we need to communicate about what's going on. And that's my thought.
That's exactly how the commissioner asked
Yeah.
that it
That-
happened. And
That's
And
what I'm
I
afraid
ass-
of, is it getting out of hand.
I assured him that if he was given that concept, and I think what happened is we said we're going to open it to the public. As I said to the commissioner, all of our meetings are televised and open to the public. So if the public wants to come, and he was very good in saying, I have no issue with that. I have no issues with the public asking questions, but I would like to know what the agenda of the meeting between the Board of Selectmen and us is going to be. And we tried
Which
to
is what we wanted to do.
we tried to define that. So, and
Yeah.
they are very open to do it.
Catherine, you got a question?
I'm the one that asked for this meeting.
Mhm.
And the reason I was prompted to ask for this meeting is because I had a number of people from the public approach me in the market, elections, concerned about traffic on Route 3, congestion, the developments. It wasn't for the Board of Selectmen and the commissioner. It was for the public to come and be able to sit down and say, we live here. We can barely get to the markets. I can't get out of my driveway on the weekends. Forget about holidays. You wouldn't believe what I do to get out of my driveway and never take a left except at night. So there is a huge problem.
Mhm.
And it's the public that asked me, what do we do? So I asked for a meeting where the public could come and ask questions that I can't answer. I'm not DOT. It's not my road. And Route 311 corridor is the main problem. We're 11 miles long,
Mhm.
and that's Route 311. That's our longest point.
And I agree with you. I agree with what your assessment is of how this meeting started. But in order to answer those questions, DOT also has to be aware of the projects that are coming on Route 3 to answer some of those questions, and they are not aware of those projects that are coming on Route 3.
I agree with you
We,
100%.
so in conjunction with that, they are now aware of those projects. As projects come in, for months now, they are immediately sent out to DOT so that they're aware conceptually that this may happen. But they need to know what from exit 20 on up, at least what's happening, and then put it together for future, the next 10 years or next 20 years. So, but it can't be a a fight, with DOT. It can't be an argument with DOT at this meeting. It just can't be. It can be questions. What are we going to do? What's going to happen? How can you help us? That kind of thing. A positive thing that we can move forward, hopefully, and get some answers from them, and help them get the data that they need, and then help us see where they're coming from. Although I think our lenses are going to be much clearer than theirs.
But I think our public, those people that we represent, deserve to be able to come and ask their questions.
Yes,
I think that, I mean, you've shown over and over again, you're quite capable of conducting and controlling those meetings. So, John is vice chair, you do very well. So I'm not worried about it, but I sure as heck am not ready to close the door and having the public come and being able to ask questions.
Oh, we're good. Did that answer your question?
Think of them
Yeah.
all.
So I'll say
Okay.
that the second meeting in February,
Yep.
we'll plan it. Okay.
But
Perfect.
make sure that we allow
Adequate time.
adequate time.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're aware of what Catherine just stated.
Yeah, and I did.
People want to know, and if
Yeah.
they come with those answers,
Right.
that's
And I
Okay.
did clarify that with them. So
it could be
and I'm
a
all-
pothole.
You're all set
all
now.
set. Yeah,
all
I
right.
am.
Everybody all set. I'm going to go to anyone on public if they have any questions at this time for the board.
Chuck Mitchell raised his hand.
Oh, there it is.
I have a hand raised.
Chuck.
I believe I can't see. Chuck,
Chuck.
go ahead, Chuck.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I think, even as you talked about the island and all the way from actually not just exit 20, but all the way up on Route 3 and 11, those are all concerns. And, whatever information they can help to provide us as in the town, I think would be helpful. I mean, that whole issue with the guardrail, the island, the guardrail, and then from exit 20 up to the Winnisquam Bridge, anything that they can do to provide us with some positive input about what their plans are, I think should be explained to the town as much as possible, and then still allow public input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. Anyone else online would like to comment on anything to ask the board? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. At this time, hearing no other public comment, we need to make a motion to go into non-public. Time being 6:53. Make a motion to move into non-public, but RSA 91A:3(2)B and RSA 91A:3(2)C. The B is hiring of any person as a public employee, and C is reputation matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. Unless such person requests an open meeting, this exemption shall extend to any application for assistance or abatement or waiver of a fee, a fine, or levy if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Catherine Dawson. Roll call vote. Eric?
Yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Chesterman, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Constantino, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, folks. Time being 8:01. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the January 16th Yes, seal the minutes of the January 16th meeting 2025 because the reasons justify the need for the non-public session still remain.
Second.
Second by Catherine. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anything else to come before us in a public meeting? I think we have a hand up. Joe,
Motion to adjourn.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.